So when we last left off, on year 100, we're just slowly branching out from our epicenter. And we're slowly upgrading everything that we have as everything unlocks. I'll keep upgrading my water pumps. I'll keep adding more water pumps to the larger lake over here as well. So left shift, middle mouse button, and a prioritize. Keeping an eye on my resources. As they drop, I keep adding more nuggets to the refineries. That way we're not waiting on anything ever. I never really want to get down to zero on pretty much any resource that we've started to create. So now that I have both refineries of both factors full, I'm going to unpause these two. Also, I'm going to add more parks. We're just going to get some anti-city alleys kind of peppered in here. Sometimes we can fit them in reasonable little spots. You know, they fit in great little places like this. And I'm going to hold shift to place multiple here. And we'll just do 3 for now. That'll keep that happiness up as the sadness comes in with the refineries. Now, eventually we're going to be getting into crime levels as well, based on our stone refineries, our iron mines. A few things are going to add to the crime, and we're going to be able to combat that with anti-crime units, which is going to be the defense towers. Defense towers are actually very useful in the future, so it's good to start by getting a few of these down. So we'll start with that, and they don't have to be in particularly strategic spots. Once you start seeing where the wolves are attacking from, then you can start setting up hunters lodges and defense towers on those, and especially once we start going towards exile parts as well. But for the time being, I'm just placing 4 towers down, and that is specifically just to keep the crime down, which we don't have any right now. But the more things that we get to and the more things that we place, the crime will inherently go up. So this one is still waiting on basic resources. And we are coming into fall. I do have 400 points, so what I'm going to probably do is, as soon as winter hits, I'm going to skip again so we can keep accumulating food and water and all our basic supplies. Alright, as we come up onto winter, we're going to see that our water supply starts dwindling, and it's going to go right down to 0. But we are still in fall, so things are frozen. But we don't want to skip yet. And that eatery was in shambles because I had just assigned engineers over to here. I'm going to wait till the calendar turns blue. Should be here any moment. And what you want to do is a season change as soon as it turns blue. That way you're getting, I guess, the most effective use of your points. So we're going to wait just a little bit longer. There we go. We're blue. Hold control. Press left click. And now I'm going to go over to spring. And we're going to slide on over to spring there. That's going to unfreeze the lakes. We're going to get a water production back up in a hurry. I guess not a hurry, but we're going to get it back up eventually. There we go. And we're back on our way to getting full storage and stored drinking water. So as this pump comes in, I'm looking at this lake. It's a 100k lake. It's a monster of a lake. So I'm going to shift, middle mouse button, add another one, and prioritize. And we're going to keep getting a ton of water into here. Anybody want to place bets on this one pump and not being monitored by engineers? I'm going to say it's going to happen. But as we go, we should have all our farms upgraded. And the ones that not, we're going to get these guys upgraded. Make sure that I have 2 workers in each. Upgrade those. I'm going to prioritize this one because it's taking a little longer than usual. And even if I don't have anything in my warehouses, like I said before, I want to get these warehouses upgraded so we can start storing basic materials on the next tier, which is iron and gas. Because if we can't store it, then we can't stockpile it. And if we can't stockpile it, then we're doing something wrong. But I'm very low on storage based on the fact that everything that they are producing, they are using in their buildings at this point in time. So I'm not trying to stockpile at the moment. I'm actually trying to keep the flow of everything going at the same time. And the reason that this engineers is in shambles is because it needs 2. So anytime you can do 2, here we go, nuggets have died due to wild animals. Excuse me. So I'm going to press pause. And we're going to go in. And we're going to find out where these wild animals were attacking from. I'm going to slow it down to a single speed. Because I don't have any hunter's huts or anything right now, we have to do this ourselves. So slowly but surely, I'm going to pick up the wolf and I'm going to drop it down. And that gives us a bit of food and that stops the attack. Now I'm going to keep sort of an eye on the nugget news here, just to make sure that nobody else is dying. If I see that death message come up again, it means that there's still a wolf around attacking. Or if this goes up to a +2. I think we've done what we needed to do there, but always good to keep an eye right here. And the fact that that indicator has now disappeared, we know that everything's all good. So back to fast forward. And our cemeteries are now able to be upgraded based on research. So that's going to be one thing that I get on almost immediately. Because having 2 gravekeepers in there at the same time is going to be super useful. And I just upgrade things slowly but surely as they come up and as they unlock. And as we have materials for it. So I'm looking right here. I have 97 required and only 53 on hand. So that means I need to chill out a little bit. I need to say, hey, let's stop with placing items. Let's kind of get everything sorted before we move on. And looks like I've got my there's an eatery there. So I'm going to wait for another residential to pop into this area, and then we're going to holy ground over this way. And that way, slowly, we start taking over the entire planet as much as we can. And I want to get to the oil over here. I believe there's another patch. Yeah, I'm aiming for all the big oil patches because we're going to need all the oil off this planet eventually. I know you're thinking, like, 54K, like, there's no way you could use all that. Well, you certainly can. You certainly can, especially if Mother Planet is going to be the home base for adding resources to your entire solar system and your entire universe. My plan is to basically make Mother Planet the home base for all things, to get everything started on, I'd say, maybe 20 or 30 different planets. And then once we get a handful of planets established, then we're going to start seeing what we can produce on those planets and take the strain off of Mother Planet. Because as her resources dwindle, we need to find other resources in the universe to actually utilize. So I'm going to try and keep it balanced on this one, just to show you what I'm talking about. And we have a little while to go before we actually get to that. But it's something to keep in the back of your head is, how am I going to maintain Mother Planet, keep her alive, if that's your intention. I mean, you can do anything you want in this game, and that's the cool part about it. Is I'm just giving you the best advice that I know, and you can run with whatever you want after that. So we do have cemetery here, but we're going to prioritize that, and that's just because there's only one worker in here. They can't get to enough dead bodies that are all around us. I'm going to do a quick check for infected zones. Let's see how many dead we have. So we do have quite a few dying over in this area here. So that cemetery is pretty overwhelmed. And we do have infected areas over here as well. So I'm going to rectify these before anybody else gets sick. And then I'm going to go back over to my planet menu. And I'm going to find this infected area here. And we got to ask ourselves, why is this area infected? If I have cemetery coverage right here, but I do not have an upgraded cemetery. So once those upgraded, and we have 2 nuggets working in each one of those cemeteries, we should not get more messages of infected areas in this particular area. Now that we have a few people moving in over here, I've kind of let it run a little longer because I do want a few more nuggets to be able to get over to this area here. So I've allowed 3 houses to be built there. And now I'm going to stop and put a residential zone down in this forest area. That's going to give us a little bit of a spread for residential over here. They are still building as we go, so I'm not really going to try and overwhelm them too much. As you can see, we're in the hole for stone and wood. Why they're not collecting them as they normally do, that's beyond me. Nuggets are just going to do what nuggets do. But while we're waiting for that, we've unlocked gas and oil mining. So let's get an oil jack up, and we're going to start at the smallest area here. So you'll see that it's got an area of effect, and we can get the most bang for our buck by aiming for pretty much a central zone here. But if you're looking at an area like this, what you want to do is you want to start on the outside edge of it. It may not be the most that you can accumulate with one jack, but by doing this, you're going to drain that entire zone down to 0, and then you'll have another one here and drain that down to 0. So effectively, you're slowly erasing all the oil off the map. So I'm going to start with our first jack right here, and I'm going to prioritize that. And while we're doing that as well, is we've accumulated 100 gas, and we're full on gas here. This sometimes is a bug, as far as I can see, is that even with our warehouses upgraded, at least some of them, that they won't store it for a little while, which is fine, because what I want to do now is I want to build our first glass factory. Probably going to need 2 or 3 of these by when everything's said and done, but I'm going to start that, and I'm going to put it right next to this oil and gas rig over here. And I'm going to prioritize that as well. So that's going to get us going up with glass and oil. What I suggest you do before we move on to electricity is double back and make sure that we have all our research unlocked, even the little unimportant bits. The only one I'm going to leave behind right now is Divine Punishment. I kind of like using that way near the end of the run, basically once we get into Space Age, when we have hundreds of nuggets, and that's just going to help our twin possibility skyrocket, theoretically. But right now it's sort of a waiting game. I'm not going to overwhelm them with anybody. A stone mine is actually super useful. It allows them to actually just continuously mine stone as opposed to going to grab them off of mountainsides. And that's going to help us out a bit. Always keeping an eye on our pollution. Minus 6.5 a year because of these parks. But as we get into Space Age, or Modern Age and Space Age, we get a lot of really nasty buildings. We got to make sure that those nasty buildings are being combated by parks. And you'll notice I'm leaving lots of spaces everywhere as well. And that's going to be for parks and couriers' huts and fire stations and all kinds of stuff. That being said, let's check. Have we unlocked fire stations? Yes, we have. So this is going to be another thing that's going to be just absolutely necessary, no matter how you want to run, is you're going to need to put fire stations down. And I'm going to do that same kind of coverage, a little bit of overlap. I start usually at the epicenter and I work my way out. It doesn't have to be crazy overlap, but you want enough that everything is covered. And the reason being is that, first of all, nuggets are super clumsy, so they're going to start fires on their own. But when we get hit with a firestorm and all hell breaks loose, we're going to want as much help as we can with that. we don't really want to rely on God powers for it. We want to rely on the nuggets to actually do their job. So this is a big order that I'm putting in right now, but it's going to be one of those ones where once I have it, I don't have to think about it anymore. And it's going to take them a little while for them to build all this up, and that's totally fine. One thing about this game as well is it's not a rush to get into the next stage. It's a balance of how you do it. And a lot of people just want to get to rockets and go, and that is totally fine. Fill your boots. But for me, I take my time with pretty much every part of this. And that way, when I do get to space age, I have a massive amount of materials accumulated, and I don't have to struggle on Mother Planet anytime that I need to do supply runs or anything. I always have an abundant amount of resources in order to utilize. So here we go. And slowly but surely working our way out with the water as well. I'll get a bit more water over here. Is that going to bug me? Yeah, that's going to bug me. So thanks, Cloud. Appreciate it. Okay, so we'll take a look at water coverage. As you can see, we're pretty solid all the way across. There should be no nugget dying of thirst anywhere in the entire city, because no matter where they step, within a minute's reach, they can get to it. Same with food. We're looking a little sparse in this area over here and over here, but I'm not going to place any down right now based on the fact that we just placed a ton of fire stations. So we need to accumulate 316 and 451 stone at the same time combating the planks and the bricks. So I'm going to just let this run. I'm going to slowly populate everything that gets built. And once they're balanced out again, then I can start building again. But by that time, they'll probably have houses over here. So we'll just give it a minute and we'll see where it goes. All right, we've got an impromptu firestorm. I'm sure it was on the record, but I didn't have my forecast tower up yet. So we're going to combat this without fire stations right now. I don't have a lot of points, so I'm not going to be using trickle effect. I'm just going to be using telekinesis out of a lake. And I'm going to try and combat this whole thing with minimal amount of points used. I take... Every time I'm dropping, I'm just trying to plan my routes here. And if you get closer to the lake, it's faster to pick it up. So if you're not way out in space there, it takes less time to grab. And we're going to need all the time we can get for a firestorm with no fire stations. I'm sure there's plenty more. Dare I look? Alright, let's keep trying to find any problem spots that are on fire right now. We're gonna be seeing stuff burn down if we leave it too long. All the buildings that need repair. Let's take a look. Yeah, we got a couple more sections over here, so let's get these guys. And without fire stations, it's a lot more difficult because we're only relying on this, and we're a little too slow to do this ourselves. Now, because the firestorm's over as well, and I have the extra points, what I'll do is just trickle effect just to expedite. Usually I try and save as much points as I can, especially if we have a whole worldwide firestorm. A little trickier to do. Just based on points alone. So let's go around. Let's see what collapsed. Defense tower collapsed. We're going to rebuild that. What else collapsed? And an eatery. And we're going to rebuild that. Now, for the most part, as long as we have engineers assigned and grave diggers and all the rest, then we shouldn't be too hard up. Things shouldn't be falling apart. Because I just assigned them over here, though, I am going to fix a couple things. Residential, I'm going to salvage that Hopefully they start building somewhere else. And I guess that's a good segue to get to a forecast tower. So let's put down a forecast tower. Doesn't take up much space. And it doesn't have to be anywhere in particular. So just kind of put it where it fits. And I don't like that road, so that road's gone. And we'll build a forecast tower, so that way we're not caught with our pants down for the next firestorm. Now I waited through winter. All I did was a bunch of Cupidon, so I'm trying to get my population up because my unemployed nuggets is still staggeringly low. But at that point in time as well, we have enough educated nuggets to start with our glass factory. So I'm just going to do 3 in there to start. Same thing with what's been happening before is our gas mine is full of resources, but nobody's transferring anything over to the warehouse. And I think that's a bug. If anybody knows anything otherwise, please let me know, because that's one thing I never understood is we have space to collect, but it takes them a good long time for them to actually get to it. So our engineers isn't looking too good. That means that nobody's assigned to it. So let's get a couple people assigned in here. Let's give them a rejuvenate over there. And we've just unlocked the inventor's request for electricity. So I'm going to accept that request. What we have to do is place a battery down, B23. It can be anywhere on the map. Doesn't really particularly matter. I'm going to have these things spread out like pretty much everywhere. And this is more of a Twitch chat thing than it is actually any other strategy. Is if you have one single battery and say you're streaming this and Twitch chat just decides to blow it up, well, they're going to blow that one up and you're going to be completely out of electricity. If you build them all in a clump, then they may be able to take out multiple as well. So I think it's a good idea, especially if you choose streaming, is to build batteries spaced out. Doesn't really matter where. It's universal power. The second part of this quest, fairly simple, is we go around the planet, we look for some smoke, and we grab some components. Press F to go home, or F to go back to the spot, and drop it in. Now we do that 2 more times. And there are multiple smokestacks around the planet, so you don't really have to go back to the same spot. Just zoom around a little bit, you'll see some smoke. And you'll be good with that. So 1 more piece here, and we should be able to complete this quest relatively quickly. Just looking around. And there's the last piece here. And there we go. All we need to do is give that 1 quick zap. And that completes that quest. So after that quest is done, because we zapped it as well, sometimes you have to just check, go back home, check with your temple, make sure that that zap didn't actually affect their belief system, so they're not fearing you. In that point in time, we're looking like we're doing pretty good. Things still need to be built over here, so I'm not going to start building any more, but I'm going to check on my residentials. We've got 2 of those over here now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get Holy Ground a little farther out over here. It seems like this is kind of the natural growth pattern that these guys are going to want to go to, and it'll be good to have a little community around this Planet Cracker battery because we're going to need that battery for future tasks. Unfortunately, we didn't get any very good roads on this one, so I'm going to pick the best of the worst, which is going to be right here. And then I'm going to have to fill in, I'm just going to have an engineers on, I don't really want it on this road, but it's going to happen anyways. And we'll build out a few more water resources as well. I don't like that road either, but you know, sometimes it is what it is, right? It's unfortunate, but... And here we are at our first story cutscene. Okay, and they're off with no particular explanation, but they're going to Gaia, I believe, is the planet that they're aiming for. Not that it really says it, but we'll get there eventually. Okay, after that, I'm going to take a look, see what we're doing everywhere else. And on a side note, man, do I ever miss the old school rockets. For anybody that has played this for a long time, is we used to be able to launch rockets into the atmosphere and have satellites. And let me tell you how appealing all the space junk was, just to have satellites floating around the entire planet. I think it was the best part of the game, and I really, really hope they bring that back. But as we're going, we're taking a look. So we got 35 unemployed. We've got 250 points, so I'm going to do a bit more Cupid on here. Try and keep the single nuggets down. So we have 41 unmarried. That means we can do 20 pairs. Which means 20 more babies. So keep picking off the single nuggets as we go. Eventually, it's not going to matter much. It's just there's going to be so many nuggets on the planet that it doesn't really matter who's mating who. But for now, we're going to try and keep some of the single nuggets not single. $20 points a pop, so I won't have enough to get them all. But we'll get some in there. And with the fire stations, what I'm going to do is basically just keep one single firefighter in each one. We just don't have the population to support having 2 of each, especially because firestorms and fires don't happen as often as you would expect. So as our fire stations are getting made, I'm only going to assign 1 per station because we just don't have the population to support having 2 firefighters in each one right now. But having 1 in there, at least they'll let you know when there is a fire, if some nugget has created one, or if a firestorm is coming, it's going to help us combat it. So slowly we start looking around at what can be upgraded, what our materials are looking like. So planks is running a little low, and we'll make sure that there's indeed 6 nuggets in each refinery. And it's all about really making sure that you're upgrading as you go. You don't want to go into another age having Stone Age upgrades not complete yet. So what we'll do is click slowly through what needs to be upgraded. They're still building a lot of things right now. All the fire stations still need to be completed. So as I upgrade, I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm just going to do little bits at a time. Let them work. Let them have some more kids as well. Accumulate some points. And always keeping an eye on what we need. Store drinking water. That indicates that we're not actually producing enough water to put into all our wells. I'm going to prioritize this water pump over here. This lake is massive, so normally I would only put a maximum of 5 on a lake. Because it's a 100k lake though, I'll probably do upwards of 8. And this shouldn't run out on us at all. I'll keep an eye on this one as well. So at 98.5, I can upgrade this one pump, but I'm never going to put another one down on that. Yeah, that barn's now gone. That ever epic cutscene there. And as we build out here, I can see residences growing over here. That means we're going to need to create another community. Get our graveyard going first. The cemetery is going to be the most important part. That way, no infected zones for this community. And I'll get another one over here just preemptively. There's nothing else over there yet. But I already have engineers coverage. And let's start our water coverage going back out over here as well. and some food. And is that road going to exist? Do we want that road to exist? No. And some storage. And that'll be a good little spot to start over here. It's going to take a little while for them to get to, but because they're building houses, as nuggets move into this area, it's going to take less time for them to build all the other things. So as you can see, sort of that's the name of this game, is basically building communities. It's not having, just one school over here and expecting nuggets to get educated over here. You got to have a little bit of everything everywhere. Don't like that road, so we don't have to keep it. And as usual, as we're coming into winter, I'm just going to let them do their thing. I'm going to hang out, and then we'll wait for this winter to pass. And the next step as well is we're going to go into our selection of what kind of energy we're using. So wind energy, pretty good, but it depends on wind. So sometimes there's wind, sometimes there's not. That can be a little tricky. Kinetic energy depends on nuggets themselves. Again, tricky, but this is what I'm going to pick right now based on the fact that this, for future use, is gold. And you'll see what I mean when we get there, but what I'm going to basically do is, in the space age and for colonizing all our other planets, we're going to be using the robots, the nuggetoids. And a nuggetoid in a kinetic energy generator is going to be the best way to energize every single planet you colonize. Combustion energy, simple, uses gas, and it unlocks a power plant. I've never used it because it's a resource that I'm consuming all the time, and I'm going to need all the oil, gas, and iron I can possibly fit on a planet at any given point in time. So to have anything that's using my gas constantly, I don't like. So I'm going to use kinetic, and that's where we're going to go. And I am going to stop there before anything else. I'm not going to research two-door architecture yet because we have a long way to go. We have to place our kinetic energy devices. We have to place more batteries. We have to start accumulating power. What I'm going to do right now is B24 is going to place my first kinetic. And I'm going to go right back to the heart of the city first. And everybody's got their own style on how they do this as well. But what I do is I place these sporadically throughout the map. I try and do 2 in a row, side by each. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It does not, so that's fine. But I'm just going to find little spots around the map in high traffic areas. And we'll just start with these 3 for now. And we're going to build those out. We're going to start accumulating energy. I'm going to let them build that. I'm going to let them build their communities over here right now. And I'm going to keep popping over to different holy grounds. Hard to see. It really is in the winter. Winter is brutal for seeing. So I'm just going to let them wait out that winter, and we're going to carry on from there. And we're back out of winter. It feels like it gets longer every time. Slowly but surely, everything's getting populated, everything's getting built. I'm just going to go around, make sure that I'm assigning and upgrading as I can see fit. Let's get our forecast tower working so we can actually see what's coming. Volcano, that's pretty awesome. And as I'm accumulating, I'm building and upgrading more. But I just have to be careful that I'm not building too much and bottlenecking everything. So as we're growing out, we're making sure that I have enough planks and bricks to get by. Our oil, iron, and gas are in the same boat. Nobody's storing anything anywhere for reasons unknown. And we may be out of early access, but we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to certain things making expected sense. So if you find certain things in this game that are driving you crazy, you have every right to feel crazy about them, because there's a lot of things in here where I wish it worked the way it was intended to, but it's all a work in progress, and that's totally cool. We're just gonna have to deal with it until they fix stuff. And let's get our laborers in here. Keep growing more food. And you may have noticed I haven't put down a single fishing hut. And for me, I don't really use them. I think it'll help a little bit to get a few extra pieces of food in there. But we just got through a winter and we still have plenty of food left. And I think that's a lot to do with because of the eateries, is they're not eating all our raw food because they have plenty of prepared food to actually deal with. That being said, though, I will put, let's say, just like for the sake of it, like two huts on this lake, and then maybe a couple more on the other one. Now we'll go check at our residentials. I saw this one coming up. So our residentials are being completed over here slowly but surely. We're getting this whole section built up. And I just assign as I go, as I see certain things. So the fire station means that I have an engineers somewhere that isn't assigned, or it isn't even made. So let's see what our engineer coverage looks like over here. And that's why it's just out of range. So we'll build another engineers. That's a crappy road. So we'll build it on that crappy road. Put some water next to it. Put some food next to it. And put some storage next to it. And that gives us a nice little community over here. Now we got an engineers on their last legs. That means that probably not assigned enough people here. And we'll upgrade that as well. Let's give that a rejuvenate. Let's take a look at the fire station that wasn't looking too good. I think that was the one that we just cured. And we should be back to the basics again. So as we spread out, I just want to make sure that I have farms everywhere as well. This area is just taking a while because it's so far out and not many nuggets have moved in yet, but I'm going to get some farms down over here. And it's going to be a struggle to get to all this event, but eventually we will get there. And eventually we will get nuggets storing gas somewhere as well. So as we can see, this whole section here does not have fire coverage, so let's get some coverage on there. And we'll take a quick lap around, see what other places need coverage. This is going to be a spot eventually. Might as well get somebody down there, put some water next to them as well. Cemeteries finally upgraded. And with that, we're going to be working into the modern age as well. Last exhibitionist. So if you have, say you have 1000 CP and this one comes up, it's probably good to do it if you've not done it at least once, especially if you're trying to get all quests in one run through. But for now, I'm just going to accept it, and then I'm going to totally ignore it because I don't need to do it. All I need to do, they want you to change it to winter, and then you lose all, like you're not really ready for winter right now. So I'm just going to totally ignore it and pretend like it's not even happening. Do that quest once for the full run through, and that's all I would ever recommend to do for that one. Okay, I think holy ground over here makes a little sense. Get some housing on that side. And another thing that makes sense over here, just in case, is we're going to put a hunter's hut or a lodge or whatever you want to call this thing going to keep that over here as well. That's a good spot. Like if there's ever wolves coming this way, that's our first line of defense. And hunters' huts in the future are relatively useful, especially if you throw nuggetoids in them. Right now, as wolves attack, we'll just take care of them with our own bare hands and god powers. We've got a volcano going on over here. Built a little close to it, as you can tell, but a little thing you can do to alleviate some of it. It's hard to tell when it's actually going to go off and shoot some rocks at you, but every once in a while, if you want to throw a protective dome on it, if it does pop off, it just stays in there. There's no real set way to do this because you never know when it's actually going to go off, but if it does happen to go off while the protective dome is there, it keeps it contained. Dome doesn't have to be that big, particularly. But we do have our kinetic generators up now, our first few of them, and we're slowly producing. So what I'm going to do as well is place some more batteries. Now that we have a little bit of glass to work with. And like I said, I'm just going to place them in, not side by side for an entire cluster of batteries, but it'll be evenly spread across the map, just like everything else. Our fishing pier is done, right in the nick of time for winter. And let's just double back, make sure that we have all our research, everything that we can unlock, except for Divine Punishment. I'm going to save that for a little later. But yeah, we are 100% ready to go on to the Tudor age. Once we have everything upgraded, once we have a lot of power in our batteries, a lot of water accumulated. I'm not rushing any of this. It's just not worth it. There's no real reason to try and get through any of these ages faster than you have to. For a chill little game like this, let's just keep it chill. We're back out of another winter now, and I've just been doing the same thing, cupidoning, and trying to keep this dome sort of over this thing, just to protect this area a little bit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Slowly but surely. Here's another little thing I've noticed as well, is if you happen to have a screen open and somebody gets a new leader here, you got to take this over to this side and then press that. And I'm almost just remind me of one of the more important parts as well, is you can name your city whatever you want it. So we'll name this Strangetopia. And now on all menus, and Mother Planet is technically called Strangetopia now. Okay, we're keeping an eye on all things. Still not storing any gas anywhere. That kind of sucks. And we are full of glass as well, so I think we're going to have to make it into the next stage in order for that to kickstart it. I don't really understand why that works like that, but let's keep taking a look. Where are we living next? We're going to live down here, so put a school down here and engineers and all the rest. Yeah, they're not terrible roads. Not great, but engineers, fire station. And let's go assign somebody to this engineers here. Okay, and we've got a tornado coming up in 3 minutes. So we'll see where that lands. And if it lands close to us, we're going to deflect it with the protective dome. And if it's really far away, then we don't have to do anything. We'll just have to see. So still 42 unemployed. We're not doing too bad there. Doing okay on food. More eateries, always necessary. Think of them like Starbucks, you know, put them on every corner sort of thing. And if there's any reasonable gaps, like obviously, you know, the glass factory is going to have workers that need to eat. We're just going to put them pretty much everywhere. I don't like that road. So that road doesn't exist anymore. Okay, 1 minute till tornado. Let's keep an eye on that while we're keeping an eye on a volcano. I'm just going to keep that domed up for as long as we can. And all this little section's coming together nicely. I should have holy ground. I think I put holy ground down over this way for a second. There's a residential being built over there. So, and I got an engineer's already on the way. So that should have that area covered. All right, let's go check out this tornado. There it is. I'm going to slow it down. And I'm going to get my protective dome. And I'm going to say, hey, if you're coming this way, we don't want you over here. And if you're coming this way, we don't want you over here either. I'm just going to bounce that off and have it go to wherever the hell it needs to go. The lake is big enough where if it keeps its course, it should just wear out. Swim, whale, swim. I wouldn't just bounce this and go elsewhere because sometimes it does take a weird path. It'll veer off to the left or right or come right back at you. This one looks like we're in the clear. I'm pretty happy with that, but especially when you have a full planet covered, you don't want to bounce it across the lake just into another part of your civilization there. Yeah, I think we're good there. And we just saw a cemetery that came up, so let's go figure that one out. Okay, let's get a couple people assigned into here. School, that'll take its minute. Now these mystical boxes as well. So you'll see these meteors everywhere. Each meteor has a space box in it. You take that space box and you go bring it back to the city center. Then they're going to research it. Then you can open it. I sometimes just leave the ones that are on Mother Planet alone because I don't really need the resources. As you can tell, I mean, even if we get any high-tech resources, we can't store them, so they're going to disappear anyways. So that's kind of, I don't really bother with the space boxes until I get into space. And then I can actually utilize them when I get onto other planets and there's a bunch of boxes on that planet. An easy way to get all my materials very quickly is by picking up all the boxes on that planet and then opening them up before nuggets arrive, before anything else happens. That way I'm not killing anybody, I'm not poisoning anybody. Oh, this is looking like it's going to explode again. I still haven't come up with a concrete way to tell when this thing is going to blow up. It's just random. That being said, so I think we should bring our holy ground over to here now. And start building out this way. That's a crappy road. That one is not a terrible road. So we'll start here with our water. I want water just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Sure, why not? With another restaurant. More storage. That's a crappy road. Fire coverage. Cemetery coverage. And there we go. And hopefully they start building out this way now. And so that's really the name of the game, as you can tell, is each time it's just build all the essentials in each area, and that way they don't have to travel very far to get any of the essentials. I really, really wish I was accumulating more glass right now. It's unfortunate that I'm not. I should be, because I have storage for glass. But for some reason, it's just not picking any up. They just don't want to store anything at all, really. Not quite sure why. Yeah, all our... I got one full on planks. What a tiny bubble. Tiny little bubble work. Save me some points. So I'm going to take a look at when we get into Tudor Age, which we're coming up on pretty soon. When we get into that, then I'll see if it still will not collect any more resources, because I could be mining all this right now. I could have a ton of gas already accumulated and a ton of oil, but for some reason it just does not want to store it. And that kind of sucks. But it's not going to stop me, because we're just going to keep moving on. I'm going to build another oil, another gas. And they've got food right there. They've got water. So I'm not worried. Build dangerously close to a volcano, because why not? And another farm's up and running. And we keep looking at our spread over here. So we got the residentials going over here. I'm going to wait until they're built up a little bit more. But we'll do a kind of peruse. We'll see what we can upgrade, if anything else. And now that we're pretty much fully upgraded, I can start looking at more of the electricity, seeing that the game is just saying, nope, you're not getting any accumulated resources here. Sometimes it happens. Can't really do much about it. But I am going to start putting down kinetic generators in random spots. So just a couple in some busy areas. I try and start near the center of the city there. Sure, let's go for the art installation. Why not? And I'm going to build a few batteries as well, a few more. Actually, these ones aren't even touched yet, so I'm going to prioritize these. Okay, we'll wait for that to be built. We'll wait for this volcano to go away eventually. That would be nice. It'd be so nice. And we are building in a danger zone here, but, you know, is what it is. That volcano doesn't erupt all the time. And we got some building going on over here. I think I need a little bit more residential on this side. Yeah, we'll get you guys working over here for residential. And as always, so we're looking at our water. Not doing great on, like, we're maxed out on our stored, but our drinking water is still an issue as well. But that may not be an issue as soon as we get into the Tudor Age. So that being said, this is the first 200 years now. So we'll stop here, and we will move on to the next 100 years in the next video.